Do you find yourself needing help winning pitching categories? If so, today, Matt and I have the perfect strategy for you. So lock on in for today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, here as always with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Arnay.
Yo, what's going on, guys?
You can find us on all social media platforms and podcasting apps. Just search for Locked On Fantasy Baseball, and we'll be there. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And if you're watching on YouTube, press that little bell below. It subscribes you to the channel, gives you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And also, once again, if you're on YouTube, be sure to like and comment because we love to talk fantasy baseball with you. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who can take you on that journey of self-discovery from where you are to where you want to be. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnMLB today to get 10% off your first month. All right, guys. So today, Matt and I are breaking down a strategy that is called pitching and ditching. Now, if you're not familiar with the strategy, it's basically when, you're not doing so hot in the pitching categories, or even if you just need that little boost to get you over the edge in pitching categories when, towards the end of the week, sometimes even at the beginning of the week, you could do it. You pick up a pitcher that has a good matchup. They don't even have to have been pitching great lately, but you need to do a little research on the matchup and, just get them in there for a game. And you don't always plan on keeping them on your roster. Sometimes it works out where, you do keep them on your roster and you go on from there. But Matt, I'll let you get into, how you like to utilize pitching and ditching first, and then maybe I'll come back and I'll throw a few more things in here. But guys, I know you don't want to keep listening to my voice. So Matt, go ahead. Take it away, brother.
It's all good. Thank you for letting us not hear you anymore. It was getting really obnoxious. Thank you. So guys,
my best friend for 20 years.
I know, and you just never shut up, but it's fine. Go ahead and spit that water out. Anyway, so this is how I like to use it, right? So like I'm having a bad week in pitching. My ERA is absolutely botched, like it's screwed. Like I have a 5 ERA going on. My guys got hit this week, but I have a shot at winning Ks and I have a shot at winning wins, and my whip isn't atrocious. So what I like to do is I have so many ads for the week, or you're in a league where it's unlimited, and this is where you can really have some fun. And then they ban it, and they ban pitching and ditching by adding limits next year, because this is how you get it done. But hey, that's next year. So what you do is you find guys that can produce, 1, high strikeout rates, 2, can at least bring the whip down, and 3, possibly have a shot at winning the game. And those are the things you target. You say, screw ERA. They get lit up, whatever. Like you're going to hear a lot of names tonight that guys that have high upside for strikeouts and that aren't going to blow up your whip. And if their ERA gets blown up, so what? You already have a 5 ERA. Now, this strategy does not work when you have your ERA is rocking and grooving, because of the fact that, you want to keep that ERA down. So you don't want to add guys with question marks or have a subpar or terrible matchup that you just, you don't want that. I'd rather take the L and Ks than sacrifice ERA. I'll just go for whip guys and win guys. So, you got to play it right. But this strategy only works if you're down in the ERA, because then you don't care. But yeah. Dom, you have anything else to add before we talk about our first guy here?
Yeah, just a little bit. I will say that this strategy is strictly for like head-to-head leagues where you're in a matchup. I really wouldn't apply this strategy in like a regular roto league or a league where it's not head-to-head based and you're just accumulating stats throughout the whole year. Maybe you can use it towards the end of the season in a league like that, but it's really strictly a head-to-head, league strategy. And I will say this, when you're doing your research, I'm just going to give you a couple of tips. you always want to check the matchup and, like check the team that your guy is playing against and check how they've been doing over the past 7 days, 2 weeks. Check those team stats. If the batting average is bad, they've been striking out a lot. That's a good sign. Also, I like to check the splits of the whole team. So let's say you have a lefty pitcher, you would go and they're up against the Mets, you would go to the Mets splits and you would see how the Mets are performing on the year against left-handed pitchers specifically. And that I have found that has helped my pitching and ditching grow to another level, because sometimes there'd be guys you think that would be good, but let's say the Mets are rocking lefties and your guy's a lefty, you really might reconsider doing that. But otherwise, Matt, I think you did a great job covering this. And honestly, there's not too much else I can add to the strategy. So my brother, why don't you take it away with the first guy of the night?
Thank you. And just add one last thing. If you're not playing head-to-head, you're not having fun.
I agree.
I mean, Roto's cool. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not, pooping on it. But head-to-head, I get to go beat Dom on a week and then just...
Matt, who's winning this week while we're playing? As you talk your crap? Who's winning?
For now, it's only Thursday.
Should we tell the folks what the score is as of the moment?
It's fine. You're barely up in some categories, my guy. It's all good.
9-3.
Yeah, until tomorrow. Anyway, Eloy's going to hit another bomb tomorrow. It's fine. This guy's on a hot streak. But anyway.
Shout out to Trey.
Yeah, thanks, Trey. Let's talk about our first guy here, and that's Mr. Josiah Gray. This guy has high K upside, right? So you're at least going to walk out with a 6K minimum, which is really nice. And his high on the year against the Mets of all teams is 9. And he's going up against the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are about right above, like a smidge above 500. So there's a fair chance that you might be able to put something out. We also don't know if Corbin Carroll is going to play, one of the best bats in their lineup. So that's another knock on the Diamondbacks and another bump for Josiah Gray for this weekend. Josiah Gray is 37% owned out there, so he is definitely great for a pitch and dish this weekend. I do not feel he has long-term value. None of these guys, except for maybe 3 on this list, have long-term value. So it's worth scooping them up and saying, "Haha, I got the Ks, possibly got the ERA if you get lucky with Josiah. Other than that, if he gets lit up, who cares? If he gets you 6 Ks, you won the strategy." Okay. So, I mean, against Pitt last week, he got the W, got 6 Ks, a 1.5 ERA. Mets got the W, 9 Ks, 0 ERA. And you know what? He's really just lighting people up. He only had 2 starts against Baltimore and Angels where he had 3 Ks. Everything else is 6. One was a 4 against Atlanta first game. Yeah, that don't count. And then 6 and 9 in the last 2. I think Josiah Gray can really be one of those guys that can really push you to the next level, or at least manufacture that win for the week.
Yeah, Matt, you covered Josiah Gray very well there. I'll just read you guys his stats for the full year. Josiah Gray on the year, 2.67 ERA across 6 starts, 33 innings, 31 Ks. The whip has not been great at a 1.27. Kid's still only 25, learning how to control, his pitching. As Matt mentioned, those last 2 starts where he walked away with the win, went 6 innings in both, big strikeout games in both. Looks like he's turning a corner a little bit this year, and the matchup against the Diamondbacks could be very, very beneficial to him. Let's move on to this next guy real quick. Somebody that Matt and I touted, a couple weeks back when he got the call up, and that's Tanner Bibee of, the Cleveland Guardians. Kid is very, very talented, man. I'm a huge fan of his. On the year, 11 innings, 13 Ks, 2.45 ERA, 0.91 whip. He's 44% owned on Yahoo, and he gets a nice little comfy start against Detroit on May 8th. And I still don't know why he's owned this low. Kid was great in the minor leagues. Let me see if I can see who his start is going to be after that. So, you guys can really get the idea of sometimes pitching and ditching could turn into a long-term hold. It looks like it might be the Angels. Pretty good team to go up against. So, you know what? If he does bad against Detroit, you drop him. If he does good against Detroit, maybe you hang on to him. Once again, this is Tanner Bibee here, young player, rookie for Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah, I mean, Bibee can handle his own, You don't know with these young dudes. He might be able to come out and just put out a gem and then be really nice, but at least he's going to get you 5 to 6 strikeouts. That's what you want, right? The goal is 5 to 6. And if you get that out of a guy you just scooped up and you have all your ads going into the weekend and you just need to win the case category and maybe wins, this is it. He's going to do this for you. So boom, check it, check mark. He's going to get you 5. and you're chilling. And, again, who cares about the ERA? But let's move on here. Let's talk about a guy that, actually, hold on. Sorry about this. Before we move on and talk about the rest of our guys that we need to speak about, Rocket Money is a personal financing app that find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and help you lower your bills in all in one place. Try it for free for 30 days, just enough time to try it and then completely forget about it. In fact, over 80% of people have subscriptions that they forget about. You can waste your money and not even realize it. Rocket Money helps you find those forgotten subscriptions so you can stop paying for the ones you don't use. Don't you know how much your subscriptions really cost? Most Americans think they're spending about $80 a month on subscription, but actually they're spending closer to $200. If you don't know exactly how much you're spending every month, you need Rocket Money. Rising prices stress you out. If you're looking for ways to cut costs, you need Rocket Money. Stop throwing your money away, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/locked-on. It's the best way to manage it. I told you guys yesterday, I'm going to tell you again. I think I'm spending about $275, $300 on subscriptions, and it's more than a cable bill will. But forget about it. I got everything under the sun, but it made me feel guilty. But I'm not canceling nothing. But anyway, Rocket Money really just showed me I'm reckless. Also, we want to thank our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. Thank you guys. And, if you can, share this podcast, join us on the audio. I think, you'll really enjoy it there, or on the tubes, whatever's your preference. And, make sure to look out for Monday's episode where we're going to be talking waiver wires and all these best pickups going into the week. And we're going to have a new flex of options next week for episodes outside of the regular schedule. So we're going to be mixing it up based off of that poll I put out. And if you guys want to hear something special from us, definitely check that poll we posted on YouTube. But let's talk about our next guy here, and a name that we love, and that's Mr. Michael Kopech, the most disappointed fantasy baseball player for me of all time. So Kopech is good for one thing in his fantasy career, and that is getting strikeouts. He could do that all day. So he is the perfect pitch and ditch candidate. So, and he had a good start against Minnesota yesterday. Not yesterday, on the second. 7 Ks, a 1.5 ERA with a 1 whip. Solid numbers. His best start of the season since April 9th against Pittsburgh. But in all of his matchups, he's either had 5 or 4 Ks and then a 9 and a 7. And he's going up against Cincinnati, who is not playing well at all. Sorry, Jeff Carr. The only downside is he's pitching in their park. So here's the thing, right? I'm talking, we don't care about ERA. We only care about the Ks. And if he could sneak out a win, which is possible, because since he sucks right now, atrociously, you might be able to sneak out a win and strikeouts. And if he can keep his whip down, boom, that helps that average. And it is what it is on the ERA. And if he manages to put a gem together and you scoop them up right now and he did something nice, hey, you might keep him for next week and see what happens. Kopech, we highly touted. He may have long-term value. I 100% doubt it at this point. He is an outright drop after this start for me. And if you care about your ERA, don't start him or drop him. It's okay.
Yeah, Matt, you broke Kopech down perfectly. I'm just going to add he's 15% owned on Yahoo, very, very widely available. And on the year, those Reds are 13 and 18. So there's an opportunity that Kopech picks up the win. But with that being said, let's move on to our next guy here. And this is somebody that I like a decent amount, and it's Drew Smyly. Man, I remember the good old days when Smyly was back with Tampa, and, he was looking pretty good a couple of seasons. And, he bounced around a little bit throughout the, rest of his career, but he's serviceable. He's definitely serviceable. He has very good stretches at times. And this year he's been pretty good. 2.83 ERA for Smyly across 6 starts, 35 innings, 29 strikeouts, and an 0.91 whip. So there's the opportunity here with Smyly pitching against Who is he got? He comes up with Miami next week. Miami's been a little bit better, but they're still not great. He gets Miami on the 6th. He's 61% owned. Actually, that's shot up a little bit since I threw these names together. So he's probably the most owned out of all the guys we're going to talk about today. But you know what? I'm sure a lot of you listening could go pick up Drew Smyly for this next start, and he'll perform pretty well. As Matt mentioned, it's nice to get those Ks, but this is kind of a reverse with the pitching and ditching. If maybe the ERA is super close, the whip is super close, and you need to sneak out a win because the Cubs have been pretty good, Drew Smyly might be the guy for you. We wanted to give you a bunch of different options with the pitching and ditching strategy, mainly leaning towards those big K guys when you just need those strikeouts. But Smyly actually might help you in a few different areas. Once again, Drew Smyly, Cubs. He gets Miami, 61% owned on Yahoo.
Yeah, I mean, I like Drew Smyly for this week. He could be good. He had a little stint like 6 years ago. We shall see. But yeah, let's move on. You did a great job there. Let's talk about our next guy, Mr. Joey Lucchesi. I think it's up in the air whether he's going to get the start this week. He's more of hammer it out and see what's going to happen. They're playing Colorado. He did pitch on the 3rd, which is yesterday, so I'm not sure if they're going to roll him out. That would be the 5th day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so possibly Sunday. 21% owned. He can possibly get you some nice K numbers. Colorado has not been good this year, so if he does get the start, keep an eye out for him about Saturday night if they do mark him in and slot him in for the start. Other than that, Joey Lucchesi is a perfect candidate for this category.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I'm seeing here he might get Cincinnati. It might be Colorado. So as Matt said, kind of keep your eye on Big Joey from New York over here and, see what the thing is. He's been serviceable on the year so far, and that's something you always want to look out for on the year. Lucchesi has 16 innings pitched, 13 strikeouts, 3.86 ERA, a 1.10 whip. So another guy that's just been serviceable. When you're pitching and ditching, that's another thing. I'm not always going for a guy that's been bad with a good matchup. I kind of like to see a guy that's been, at least somewhat decent throughout the year, gets a good matchup, and then you kind of play it from there. But I think he's a perfect, Big Joey is a perfect example of a guy. Pick him up for a start that you need the stats for, and then you just kind of throw him right back out to the fishes, and that's about it. Because once again, he has never been really great on his year. He's not a guy that you're going to wind up, holding maybe like a Bibee or somebody else. But let's move on here to our next guy, and that is Mr. Mike Clevinger. And, man, I was so excited for Clevinger because at the beginning of the season, it looked like he was, coming back to somewhat of his old form, which was, almost a Cy Young type form. He had a very, very good stretch from 2017 through 2020 where he was a top 20, 25 pitcher, and he kind of fell off a cliff after missing all of 2021. Man, the last 2 years have not been good to him. But you know what? Clevinger I believe he was pretty solid his last time out against Tampa Bay, which is one of the best teams in baseball. He went out there. He allowed 2 runs, 5 innings. He struck out 8. The whip was a little high at a 1.6. Looks like everybody that we're talking about is just pitching against Cincinnati up and coming. Once again, as Matt said, sorry to our buddy Jeff Carr. We don't mean to trash your team too much, but hey, man, until they get some of those young and up and coming prospects up, they're not going to be much of a threat to anybody. So let's see if Clevinger can go out there and do his thing against Cincinnati. On the year, numbers don't look too great with the 4.6 ERA, 1.6 whip, 29 innings, 26 Ks. But as I said, he was good in his last time against the best team in baseball, Tampa Bay. So give Mike Clevinger a shot, 26% owned on Yahoo.
Yep. I mean, Clev has always been a strikeout machine. You always know that about Clev. One thing I would say is, just remember, you can't get frustrated or upset if we're nominating him and then his ERA blows up. That's the whole point of the strategy. We don't care about the ERA in this episode. Again, we don't care about the ERA. We just want the strikeouts. We just want the win. And that is where I think Clevinger could be a good start, hence why he's on this show. But Dom, I think you have something to talk to us about.
Yes, sir. Certainly do. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Getting to know yourself can be a lifelong process, especially because we're always growing and changing. Therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness and understanding, because sometimes we don't know what we want or why we react the way we do until we talk things through. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who can take you on that journey of self-discovery, from where you are to where you want to be. If you're thinking about starting therapy, you better give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapist at any time for no additional charge. Discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnMLB today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp. HELP.com/LockedOnMLB. And guys, once again, I always do my little rant here, and I'm going to continue to do it because mental health is not always taken as seriously as it should be. I know we all have a friend or a family member or even yourself that is struggling with mental health, and it's such a tough thing to go through. You know, I've gone through it myself, and it's a battle. And sometimes you can't fight it alone. Sometimes you need a therapist like they offer at BetterHelp. And give BetterHelp a try. Give yourself a fighting chance to, get through these mental problems. Or even, if you got a loved one or family member, recommend BetterHelp to them and make sure they have their fighting chance as well. Once again, that's BetterHelp. Check it out today.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's keep it pushing though. Let's move on to our next guy, and we're going to talk about Tylor Megill. And he's is it or is it Megill?
I would say Megill. Yeah,
Tylor. Yeah, I'm not even sure, to be honest with you. And Baseball References of no help. They're telling me how to say his first name. I love that.
Megill sounds like a Lord of the Ring villain.
Yeah, no. Once again, I've heard it said both ways, so I'm not even 100% sure. But I'm blaming it on Baseball Reference because they normally tell you how to pronounce the last names, not the first names, and I know how to say Tylor. But it is what it is. So, Mr. I'm just saying Tylor from now on. I don't want you making fun of me anymore. So, he gets Colorado on May 6th. And, Colorado has not been a very good team outside of, Crone and Chris Bryant. And he was okay last time out against Atlanta. But Atlanta's Atlanta. He gave up, looks like 3 runs. He had 4 strikeouts, pitched 5.2 innings. And the 1-2-4 whip is not killing you in that category. So if he did that good against Atlanta, he could hopefully go out against Colorado, be a little bit better. He isn't a huge strikeout guy, but, being on that Mets team, he could pick up a win. He could potentially help you in, maybe a little bit in ERA, maybe a little bit in whip. On the year, as I said, those numbers are not fantastic, but hey, Tylor is owned in only 29% of Yahoo leagues. So you got a chance to, throw him out there and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, Megill had a nice little start. He was somebody we were talking about in waivers, so we'll see what happens with him. I like him a lot, especially in this matchup. We'll see what happens. But let's move on here. Let's talk about Mr. Alex Cobb, our last guy for the night. We all know Alex Cobb. He's probably one of the oldest journeymen in the league still, up there with Matt Carpenter.
And Drew Smyly.
Yeah, and Drew Smyly at this point. He still has some juice left in the tank, and he actually hasn't had a bad season entirely. He is 67% owned, so it's a little bit higher on the spectrum, but I still feel that in the 33% of the leagues, you still should scoop him up, right? He had 6 Ks, 2, which was one bad start, 8 Ks, 4 Ks, 7 Ks, right? And he's actually only killed you in 2 games in the ERA department. So going up against Milwaukee, who has actually cooled off from the jump of the season, you might actually stand a chance to get some nice strikeout numbers and possibly a lower ERA and maybe a fair shot at actually winning the game. But San Francisco's meh. So we shall see. But what I will say is Alex Cobb is a great start going into this weekend, especially if you need to manufacture a win. In that 33% of the leagues, if he is available, scoop him up. Hence why he's the last one, because he's the most owned. But with that being said, Dom, go for it, man.
I feel you on that. Alex Cobb, it's like you said, he's kind of highly owned, so might not be able to grab in too many leagues. He's been solid. He's been serviceable over the last 2 years. Good high 3 ERA, which is not bad. For a guy that you're just picking up off the waiver wire. Not really a strikeout per 9 guy anymore. The whip isn't always good. But you know what? If you missed on the rest of these other guys, then maybe you grab him. I will throw out one little last guy here. I know Matt said Cobb was last guy. I do got one more guy for you. We have a little bit of extra time. I know we talked about him the other day, but I'll just throw his name out there. It's Mason Miller. Mason Miller was very, very good last time out. Didn't give up a hit against Seattle. 7 innings, 6 Ks. Like I said, no hits, 4 walks, no runs. He gets Kansas City on May 7th. Kansas City has been, piss poor outside of really Vinny P. I know Bobby Witt is trying to find his way back, but he's been struggling. Mason Miller's out there in your league. I think he's definitely, a must add. And he's actually one of the rare pitch and ditch kind of guys that if he pitches good again, he might be a hold. But hey, if he goes out there against KC, he gets rocked, you just drop him and move on to the next guy.
Yes, sir. I like Mason Miller a lot this week, and pretty much hopefully moving forward is what the goal is for this one. So, I'm all about it here. But Dom, take us away, man.
Yes, sir. So that is all for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Check out our website if you already haven't. Also, truly thank you to all of our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. We truly appreciate all of our fans and the growth that we've seen this year. It really means a lot to Matt and I. Since we got him in here, I just want to truly say thank you for anyone that followed us since we were the Fantasy Baseball MDs to coming over to Locked On. And once again, even if you're a new fan just finding us today, or you just started listening to us, the past couple of weeks, this is what Matt and I love to do. We love to talk fantasy baseball with you guys. We love to give advice. We love to share our knowledge, over the years, our championship strategies and tips. So it means a lot to us, Matt. I don't know if you want to throw a quick few words in that note before we sign off here.
Yeah, just thank you, everybody, for being with us, bearing with me reading ad reads. And, thank you for being part of the journey. We hope to keep being your number one source. And if you can, we're starting around close to that 1,400 mark. And we really want to make a shout out to $2,000 before the end of the
big goal for us
before the All-Star break. So if everybody can help us out with that and start sharing it if you're here this long. And don't forget to go fill out the polls on the YouTubes so that we can see what best tailors our fans in terms of episodes. And we'll be putting more out to get more feedback in that. All right. But with that being said, guys, doses.
See you.